Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make my free layered poppy SVG. This is a beautiful layered paper craft design which will look beautiful framed in a shadow box, put on a greetings card, or even stuck straight onto the wall with some blue tack or command strips. Let's take a little look at how to download the free file and how to make it. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-svgs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the design, it's time to upload the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then click Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then the file to upload is the one which starts SVG in the file name. Make sure you choose that one, as none of the other files will open correctly in Cricut Design Space. I'm going to drag and drop that in, and then it should look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you can see all the layers next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file type. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom and try again, and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. Go ahead and press Upload, and then it will appear in your recent uploads. So you can click on it and then press Add to Canvas. Here is the design, and you can see all of the layers split out down the right hand side of the screen. This design uses 2 shades of red and 2 shades of green, but if you don't have that many shades in your cardstock, maybe you've just got 1 shade of red for example, then you can change it so that it'll all use the same colour. To do that, click Colour Sync over here on the top right, and then you can click and drag the layers onto the other type. So if I click and drag these dark layers, you can see my design is changing as I do this, so that they're all going to show in that lighter colour. It moves it around a bit when you're dragging, so just make sure you choose the correct one. And now this has all of my poppy petals as the same shade of red. It might look a bit weird on the screen because we're only seeing it in 2 dimension here, but once it's all stuck together with your 3D foam pads, it will still have a beautiful layered effect, even if you do use the same colour for everything. However, I'm going to keep mine as it was originally, so I'm going to undo all of those changes. Oh, one too many. There we go. Here it is. And then I'll switch back to the layers panel by pressing layers over here. You can then resize it to go in your shadow box. I think I'll cut mine at 7 inches tall. Make sure the padlock icon is closed. If it's open, then just click on it to close it. And then choose either your width or your height. Type your number in and press enter on your keyboard, and then the other dimension will change too. So you notice when I change the height, my width also changed to keep everything in proportion. This is looking good, so I'm going to click Make It, and then that will split out all of my colours. You can change the paper size in this drop down here, and then you can click and drag things about to move them around to take up less space on your card. Make sure you don't overlap anything like that, otherwise it won't cut properly. So you need to make sure each shape is completely separate from the others. You also need to change the paper size for every single colour, so you just need to go through and do that. And then when you're happy with how everything is looking, then you can just go ahead and press continue. It'll connect to your Cricut machine and you can get everything cut out. But I'm just going to have a little look at this. I wonder if, I was wondering if I could fit it all on the same sheet, but actually I don't think I quite will be able to. Let's give it a go though. So I'm going to click the little dots and then move object. Click on the other sheet, make sure you choose the same colour. And I wonder if I rotate things. Ooh, it's going to be tight. Haha, I did it. Okay, so by some clever rotating around, I've got all of these bits of light green fitting on the same A4 sheet of paper, which means that I don't need this second sheet. When I click continue, it'll get rid of this one for me because it's empty. So now instead of having to use up 2 bits of my card, I only need 1. And I love it when that happens and I manage to outsmart Design Space with a little bit of care and attention. Alright, so I've just got one more to change to my A4 paper. There we go. And now I can press continue, get everything cut out from cardstock with my Cricut machine. I've got all of my layers cut out and I've just laid them one on top of the other to check I'm happy with the colours and that I haven't missed anything out. I've used kind of deeper reds and greens than what was on the design in Design Space, and I think it looks quite nice in those darker colours, but equally if you use the lighter ones, I think that would look lovely too. Now, one thing I'm going to do before I start moving this all around is just stick the tiny middles of the poppies together, otherwise I know I'm just going to lose them whilst recording this video. So I'm just going to get the middle of that one, and then also just on this one it's just that little yellow one that I'm going to do first, and then grab some glue. The glue I like to use is called Collall. I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some other glues can do, and it dries really quickly. And then I put it into these needle tip applicator bottles to make it really easy to use. And these are going to be so helpful for these teeny tiny little yellow bits, because I can just move that, put a tiny bit of glue there, and then stick that one down, then roughly put that back into place, and then on the other one I've got a few more little pieces. I'm just going to glue all of these together. So let's start with that black, and lining this up might be a little bit tricky. Oh, do you know what? I think I've just put glue on the wrong side. Oh well. I don't think it'll matter too much if it doesn't line up exactly. Which I don't think mine will, because I've glued the wrong side. So, oh dear, fallen at the first hurdle. I'm just going to leave that one like that, and then a little bit more glue for the green, and then one more bit for the yellow. Ooh. Oh dear, dropping things all over the place. Right, I'm going to move that over to the edge to let it dry, and then we can start on the rest of the design. So we want to start at the bottom and then work our way upwards. I'm going to move all of the poppy pieces away together to keep them all connected. And that one. And then also these leaves at the top, so that I'm just left with my bottom 2 layers, which are these 2. And let's have a little think. I think for this one, because it's really just adding the detail here, I'm going to glue it. So let's add my glue. And you can see why these needle tip bottles are so helpful, because I can just get into all of these details really quickly without making any mess. Just whiz up the stems, and it puts just the right amount of glue on. Okay. Going to turn this around. stick it in place. And I like the glue layers because you can move it about a bit if it's not quite lined up. There. All right, the next one is going to be creating the stems for these two poppies. And I think for this one, I'm going to use some foam just to give it a bit of 3D effect from these bottom leaves. I'm using these foam pads from Dot & Dab. They're quite big, so I will be cutting them in half, but any foam squares will do. So I've cut these just with a pair of scissors to make them a bit smaller. Not only does it make it easier to fit them in these little holes, but it means you need less. So your little pack of foam squares will be able to be used on more craft projects, which is always a good thing. You want to make sure you put a good amount on so that the cardstock has enough of these that it'll create a nice stable layer once it's stuck to the other bit. If you maybe just put 2 or 3 bits on, then you'll find that it will dome down where there aren't any foam squares because there's nothing to keep it sturdy. So by adding lots like I've got, it means you get a better overall appearance. Now I just need to peel the tops off of the foam pads, and that reveals the stickiness on the bottom of them so that I can then stick this down to the other layers. It's a little bit flimsy with the stems, so be careful handling it so it doesn't tear. And then I'm going to use that leaf to line it up, and also the top poppies. And then what you want to do is just gently drop it down. Check you're happy with the positioning, because if you're not, because this is only just dropped in place, I could pick it up and it's not going to damage anything. But that's looking good, so I'm going to push down to stick it all. All right, next I'm going to do this one here, and this is making the stem of that front poppy. So I think I'm going to use foam again. I'm not sure on this one. Normally I can make the decisions quite quickly. Yeah, I think I'll use foam, because if I used foam on the next green one instead of this one, then the poppy head would be too far out, or would it? Oh no. This one is causing me trouble. No, I'm going to glue it. I think I've worked it out. You can see how much preparation goes into this before I start recording. Right, glue on this one. And then foam for the next one. And we'll see if this works, or if I wish I'd done it the other way. Alright, so I'm going to stick this on, and the reason I went for foam on this one in the end is because I want this leaf to look like it's coming out from the stem. I didn't line that up very well. There we go. You see that leaf detail? I just wanted it to pop out from the stem, which it does, so that's beautiful. I'm happy I've done it that way. Next, it's time to move on to the poppies, and I think I'll do this little one first. This is just the bud, so it comes with 4 different parts to it. And I'm going to use foam for the first one. Don't need very many bits on this one. I think 2 is just fine. And then stick that into place. And then for the next red one, I'm going to use some glue. there. So you see you're just getting that little tip come out. And then for the first layer of the green, this one will be a foam layer. Put that one on there. And, oh, just move that about a bit because my glue was still wet. There we go. And then the final one will be glue. So I'm going to be careful now that I don't move that again. There we are. All right, next let's do this poppy. So I've got my pieces here. Let's take a look. This has got slightly more to it. Got all of these bits. Just about fit them all on the screen. And once again, I will start with the foam on this one. Then, as this is one of the main poppies, I'm going to use foam again for these petals. Give it a little bit more dimension than that little one. Line that up and push down. And then for the two middle bits of the poppy, I'm going to glue them. So just a little bit of glue on there. Line that up. The same for the green. Remember, we've already done that little yellow bit in the middle. It's probably got a proper name, but I don't know what it is. And then for the final piece of red, I will add some foam to that one so that it pops out from the middle bit. There. So this does cover that yellow a little bit, so you just see a little bit of it poking out. So don't worry that you are covering it up. That's what you're supposed to do. Right, next onto our big poppy up here. And this one has the most pieces to it. So if I move that here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the middle bit that we've already stuck. Again, we'll start with foam. Let's just move these round. Foam on this one. And then line it up. Is it that way round? Yes. Might take a few tries before you get the edges the right way round, so just have a little play with it. And then for this one, which is going to go on there, we're going to use foam again. Once again, line it up along those sides. The next layer is this dark one, which will be a glue layer. So let's turn it over, add the glue. And that goes along there. Next we've got our final one, which will go on here, and this is a foam layer. So it's going to give that depth from all of the little sticky out bits in that one below. Oops, didn't do that very well. Oh no, I just moved the glue layer. You know those projects where just everything seems to go wrong? I think that's this one for me. Right, try again. There. And then finally, for this one, we've got a little bit of dark, which is going to go up along the side to just give the illusion of that petal sort of folding over for a bit of realism. And then our middle piece, which I'm going to glue. You could use foam, but as it's got so many layers in it, there's 4 bits of card, I think it's already got enough depth just on its own that it doesn't need the foam. There, beautiful. Right, we've got one left, which is this folded over poppy. And again, with the first layer, we'll start with the foam. Fits on there nicely. And then the second one, I'm also going to use foam for. Get some nice depth on this, and the 2 shades of red really helps with giving it that shadowing and making it look a bit more realistic. There's that one. And then one more, which is going to sit like that. And oh, I'm undecided on that one. I think I'll go for foam, but glue would work well too, so this one is optional. Okay, last little piece. I'll be glad when this one's finished. Right, there we go, the last little bit of my poppies. So here they are all done, and there's loads of layers in this. So if I turn it around, you can see all of the depth. It looks really, really beautiful. And this is now all ready for me to put into a frame. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to make this free layered poppy SVG with a Cricut machine. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free layered SVGs. Thank you for watching. Bye!